Welcome, Ascension Fam Bam, to part two of our series on honor. Yo, I am super just excited right now because I'm probably in Phoenix, Arizona with Jessica, and I may or may not have my beard shaved off. So if I come back and half my face is gone, don't freak out, don't flip out on me. Just embrace me for who I am. Anyway, hey, last week we learned a whole bunch of things. The 3 points that we learned about was, first of all, that honor was established from the beginning, right? That God is a king. And the third thing is that God honors us, and that enables us to be able to, first of all, honor the people around us and the authority around us, and also honor God for who He is. I gave you a couple different definitions and just terminologies that I threw out there. And the definition of honor that I gave you was that honor is treating people the way that God sees them. And if a generation pursues honor, there'll be a generation that encounters the glory of God. So there we go. That is the recap of last week's teaching. And so let's jump right into this week. We're going to learn about the opposite of honor. I think one of the best ways to learn about something is to look at the opposite of it, right? So this one's gonna be a little bit heavy, a little bit hard. So brace yourselves right now. I'm warning you. As believers, I believe that we are called to empower each other, and that's exactly what honor does. Honor empowers one another. It looks at people for who they really are, and it enables them to reach that place. And so that's what we're looking at, the opposite of honor. So let's jump right into this thing. The first point I want to make, the first point of all of this right here is this. Negativity disempowers. It disempowers / dethrones people around you. So I like to think of negativity as like this toxic energy that you have. I know that sounds kind of weird, but I just think of this weird green nuclear slime, you know, that catches on something and it melts it all away, you know, or like one of those weird lizard things from Jurassic Park that'll be like shooting green slime at you and acid, and it just melts away at you. That's kind of what negativity is. It just erodes, you know, it kind of just is a toxic energy, and it's not really good as some of it. I want us to think right now of maybe of a time where someone was negative to us. I know that there's someone in my family that is always negative, and they're just super grumpy all the time, and it's like you can never really have fun with them because they're always criticizing or being super negative. Now, I mean, sometimes that can be fun, you know, we joke around all the time. I can be a sarcastic guy sometimes, but at the same time, it's like really when we're negative, we're creating this toxic energy that people don't really like to be around. And if you can't think of a person in your family that is negative, it's probably you. No, I'm just playing. But for real, what negativity does, instead of building up others, it really tears them down. And for us to really grow the kingdom of God, to see the lost get saved, you know, to see signs and wonders happening, it doesn't happen in an atmosphere of negativity, but it happens in an atmosphere of honor. And honor always builds up people. I want to share a story of when I was younger. I was probably maybe 7 or 8 years old. And I was at my church and I was hanging out. I don't even know what I was doing. I remember it was a winter night. It was you know, nighttime, and I'm hanging out by the front doors or the back doors. And this kid walks up to me, and out of the blue, he just comes up to me. He's like, "You have a funny voice." I'm like, "What? Like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, what the heck? You want to fight?" No, I'm just kidding. But for real, he just comes up to me. He's like, "You have a funny voice." I'm like, "Okay." And y'all, for like until my late teens even, I was so afraid to talk, or I just was so ashamed of my voice because I thought it was funny. From that little instance, for 10 years it plagued me. Another time I was in the choir, and I was singing with all the other little kids in kids church or whatever. And this time I'm probably 11 years old or whatever, and I'm singing, and the girl in front of me turns around and she looks at me. She's like, "You know, you have a horrible voice." I'm like, "What? Are you kidding me?" And so like for the longest time, I was so afraid to sing and to sing out loud. And now it's something that I love to do. And it's just like, man, those little 2 words of negativity, like literally could withhold the destiny that God had for my life if I wasn't careful. That's how the enemy works. He works in subtle ways like that. So negativity disempowers people. It doesn't build them up. And I'm not trying to, sound like this positive guru guy, that is just like all happy and go lucky or whatever. But it's the reality of things is that if we aren't positive and honoring each other, then really it's going to tear down other people, and people aren't going to want to be part of our group. They're not going to want to be part of the kingdom of God and all that. So that's the first point. Negativity disempowers people. The second point is pretty crazy, and it's this. It's that criticism is pride. So negativity and criticism is really the opposite of honor. So when we're critical of other people, we're also disempowering them, but it's also comes from a place of pride. And I want to make this out very, very plain, is that criticism is different than correction. What I mean by that is many times we use this word constructive criticism, and we use it as a means to say whatever we want, to say the truth, to speak the truth, And it's like, I don't really feel like that's the right terminology to use. I think a better word is correction. We're correcting those people. We're fixing what's wrong, and it's all out of a means of love. So I say all this to say that just if us, maybe one of our leaders, because our job as leaders is to empower you guys, right? Or your parents' job is to empower you. So just because they're pointing out something that's wrong in your life doesn't mean they're being critical, but it's coming from a spot of love. It's coming from a spot of correcting and actually honoring you to get to the place where you need to be. So, but I want to make that contrast, is that criticism is different than correction. And many times criticism comes out of a place of pride and a place of cutting people down. Correction, on the other hand, is about empowering and seeing what's wrong to fix it and to get to that spot where you need to be. And so what criticism does is it looks at the temporal. It looks at the superficial of what's around us, and all you can do is just talk negative, and hound on people. But like honor, it literally pulls out what isn't seen and it brings it into reality. Anybody can be critical. It's easy for anyone to criticize and for them to tear down people, but to pull out something that isn't there is nearly impossible. It's like you have to have a lens that's created by God to see people who they are, to pull that out of them. That's why honor is so important, because it builds people up. And essentially, criticism is based upon thinking that your opinion is greater than other people. So the reason why many people are critical is because they have this huge just ego about them, and they think that their thoughts and what their opinions are so much more higher and loftier than those around them. And so it's like, Simon Cowell from American Idol back in the day, just dog on people all the time, and it was funny to watch that. But still, criticism comes from a place of pride. That's the second point. Third point is that dishonor breeds insanity. I want y'all to read this verse with me real fast. It's going to pop up on screen. It's from Romans chapter 1. For God in heaven unveils his holy anger, breaking forth against every form of sin, both towards ungodliness that lives in hearts and evil actions. That's pretty intense, y'all. Brace yourselves. For the wickedness of humanity deliberately smothers the truth and keeps people from acknowledging the truth about God. In reality, the truth of God is known instinctively, for God has embedded this knowledge inside every human heart. Opposition to truth can be excused on the basis of ignorance, because from the creation of the world, the invisible qualities of God's nature have been made visible, such as his internal power and transcendence. He has made his wonderful attributes easily perceived, for seeing the visible makes us understand the invisible. Then this leaves everyone without excuse. This is the point I want to make right here, that throughout human history, the fingerprints of God were upon humanity, yet they refused to honor him as God or even be thankful for his kindness. Instead, they entertained corrupt and foolish thoughts about what God was like, and this left them with nothing but misguided hearts steeped in moral darkness. Although claiming to be super intelligent, they were in fact shallow fools. that verse right there that says, yet they refuse to honor him as God or even be thankful for his kindness. That's a powerful statement. And because of their refusal to honor God, it bred insanity inside of the lives of humanity. So when we refuse to recognize authority, we're going to get into that in session 3, or when we refuse to honor God for who he is, that literally will bring insanity into our life because God lifts his hand of protection from you. And the thing about this on a very practical level is that there really is no end to dishonor. It continues to grow and destroy not only those around you, but yourself. Just like how we open up with that toxic energy, like that green slime, that really dishonor is like this black hole that just everything just keeps getting sucked into it. There's no resolve. It always consumes you. You're always going to think about that person that messed you or did you wrong. I can think of times in my life when I've been offended at people, and it consumes every aspect of your life. You can't get over it. And you just cannot stop thinking about it because it consumes you. But honor, on the other hand, honor always has a resolve. There's always a resolve to honor. There's always this resting that happens because at the end of the day, you make the decision that to no matter how bad they treat you, no matter what they do to you, that you're going to honor them. Remember this, you're going to hear me say this a lot of times, but we don't honor people because they are honorable, but we honor people because we're honorable. Honor is a decision that we make. It's not based upon what people have done to us or the ranking of the authority that someone has. That it does play a part of it. Don't get me wrong, we'll learn about that next week, but honor is a decision that we make. So, and all this, the conclusion in all of this, remember we learned that negativity disempowers people, it doesn't build them up. The second thing is that criticism comes from pride. It's a place of selfishness in our heart. The third is that dishonor will literally breed insanity in your life. It will consume you. Just like what we read in Romans 1, where these people, they didn't honor God and God gave them over to their lusts and to their crazy thinking. Dishonor will do that to you. So remember that honor will build you and it will build other people up. And if we want to change in our life, if we want to change our life and the lives of others, it begins with a decision to honor. If we want to see change, it first begins with that decision to set everything else aside and to do what it takes to really be a person that's going to be a catalyst for change. So my question for you guys is simply this, is that do you want to be known as someone of honor? Do you want to be someone that is known not for their negativity, but for always literally seeing the best inside of somebody and pulling that out? Do you want our youth group to be known as cliquish and as always, being critical of other youth groups or whatever? Or do you want our youth group to be known as a youth group that gives out love and life to people, that when they come down, they think that there's something different about this place? And so I challenge you, and as we discuss about this, dig deep. I have some pretty intense questions to ask y'all in this, but be honest with yourselves. Don't let this just be another cheesy small group where we get together and we have to ask questions because that's what we always do and answer them. No, for real, be genuine, be real, because God always honors genuineness and truthfulness. So, hey, I love y'all so much, for real. Can't wait to be back with y'all, and hope to see y'all next week.